Thank you for joining us for today's webinar hosted by the Emerging Viruses in Cucurbits Working Group. I'm Rebecca Melanson, an extension plant pathologist with the Mississippi State University Extension Service and co-chair of the Emerging Viruses in Cucurbits Working Group, and I will once again be serving as your host this morning. Today's webinar is the second webinar in the series Cucurbit Viruses in the United States, and will focus on Aphid, Beetle, and Thrips-Transmitted viruses in cucurbits. If you missed our first webinar that focused on the Emerging Viruses in Cucurbits Working Group, the cucurbit virus situation in the United States, and whitefly transmitted viruses in cucurbits, we are working to process that recording now, and we'll hopefully have that posted to our EVCWG website in the near future. Additionally, we hope you will join us for the third and last webinar of the series that will focus on other vectored and mechanically and seed-transmitted viruses and viruses of unknown modes of transmission in cucurbits. As a reminder, each webinar has a separate registration and a unique join link, so be sure to register again for our last webinar if it interests you. And I do want to point out that while the focus of the webinar series is cucurbit viruses in the United States, many of the viruses to be discussed do occur and cause problems outside the United States. So before we get started with today's webinar, just a few reminders. Today's Zoom session is in the webinar format, so all attending microphones and videos are turned off. All webinars in the series are being recorded, and the recordings will eventually be posted to the EVCWG website. Webinars have been approved for Certified Crop Advisor continuing education units. The QR code to immediately receive your CEUs will be shared at the end of the webinar and before the question and answer session. And each of the individual presentations in today's webinar should last between 10 and 15 minutes. And then we will have a question and answer session at the end of all of the formal presentations. So we ask that you please submit your questions through the Q&A box rather than the chat. In the interest of time, I will not provide bios of each of our speakers, but the speaker bios are available on the webinar registration page, and we will share that link with you in the chat momentarily. So with that, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to our first speaker, Dr. Carrie Mock, and we will hear about cucurbit aphid-borne yellows virus.